Yes, record. Hey, what's up there, boys and girls? This is Elevating Your Voice. Today we have Victoria Romero on the show. Obviously, he's Marco, I'm Chris. So, Victoria, we just kind of rip it off like a band and they get going.
I got my license officially December of 2012 and
Okay.
hung my license for the very first time with a very, very small boutique brokerage in 2013, January of 2013. It wasn't exactly run and take off. I had to do a lot of my own
Mm-hmm.
figuring out how to do this because it was so small. Yeah, I did attempt to go to like a Keller Williams, and I remember walking into that big group welcoming and thought it was a cult. I did not
That's
like it. Or
awesome.
here's the books, only read these books. Yeah, that turned me off completely. So when their recruiter gave me a call, it was just the type of small chat that was intriguing to me. It wasn't just we're here to make you a bunch of money. Here's our program. We're going to teach you everything.
See,
After no
shut off
promise
your
of
camera,
teaching me,
please.
but my boyfriend at the time had had his license for a little while, and he had had his hands in some investment things.
Okay.
So he was teaching me what he knew,
Mm,
and talking with my trainer at the time, a physical trainer.
yeah.
He was selling his house, and he was like, "You need to meet the gal that's selling my house."
Hmm.
And that's when I was introduced to the mom and pop flippers. Uh,
Oh,
the brokerage that I signed up with was already one of the only brokerages that was finding homes for Blackstone and Goldman Sachs. So
Oh, wow. So you were busy for a
yeah,
while.
yeah. So I learned that kind of, and it's not wholesaling, believe it or not. It's institutional buying, iBuying, and sorry. And that was my first dipping my toes in it was very early on before it was a national crisis before. So it's been pretty interesting watching that evolve the way that it has over the last decade. I decided to step away from that type of real estate in 2021, early 2021, and that a lot of that had to do with 2020. And
mm,
I actually
mm.
joined a team within the brokerage where we were open door representative.
Yes.
That was a trip in itself. And back, I don't know if anybody remembers, but Open Door in 2020, that's when they were offering over asking the
Mhm.
early parts, and that's where that kind of started to snowball here in the valley.
So I'm going to stop you. So
Yeah, yeah.
with your experience with Open Door, because I've done quite a few Open Door transactions, as I'm sure a lot of us at the brokerage have, maybe or maybe not. I've always found that they're kind of just whatever you offer them, they take. Like them versus OfferPad. Open Door was much more easy to work with, much more giving when it came to concessions, much more giving when it came to just accepting the list price because they overpaid for everything. And
Hmm.
they've always just had this terrible business model where they're always losing money. So being on the inside of that, did they ever talk about that, or was just, I mean, was that their business? No, it just okay, just
Nope.
just
In
no
fact,
pushback. Any
nothing. 2020, it was just we have. In fact, the whole time that I was working for this brokerage, we
okay,
were never told how much money we had to work with. We were given increments that they wanted to buy in.
Huh.
So in 2013, 14, 15, when it was still kind of, I don't want to say hush hush because it's very transparent. It's not a big, we were never told, hey, they have 1 million to spend. They have 2
okay,
million to spend. We
okay,
were told they're buying 1,500 single family homes this year. Yep.
Got it.
and it
That's
So
didn't
that's
matter.
when, I mean, back then too, they were not only giving what people were asking for, they were also paying us.
Yeah,
right.
So we had the opportunity to double dip, open door pay us, as well as the client that we were representing.
Now,
wow.
I guess as the buyer, you were the buyer agent,
Yes.
obviously, right? So did you have a buy box? I mean, was there like a
Yes,
certain amount
very
of
much so. So nothing, three twos, nothing older than 19, I think it was 1950 for the longest time. They may have changed that in the last few years. I don't know. I've really stepped away from that mess and found myself in the residential mess. So so yeah, it was nothing smaller than a 3-2, nothing smaller than 1,200 square feet. It was definitely in certain parts of the valley without redlining. That's not what the case was.
right?
They
Right.
were buying in South Phoenix. They were buying in Maryvale. They were just very particular on the house that they were buying and very, very particular of the condition that it was in.
Right.
So they weren't buying necessarily the hoarder house. They were finding
Right.
the cuffs.
They're
Oh, but
buying the Band-Aid house, the house that
yes,
could go and just Band-Aid and turn around
yep,
and flip it. Right.
yes. And although I was buying for these companies, I've never bought from these companies.
Okay.
I've attempted one Zillow deal ever as a buyer's representative, and I was appalled with the way that they were trying to hustle my buyer. There were
Oh, right. Yeah.
$8,000 worth of damages and repairs for the roof, and they offered my client $836 as credit. And we walked away. I was like, I will never deal with one of these iBuying companies ever
Yeah.
again.
I have
Yeah.
a video I made about iBuyers. I'll throw it up on the broker's hub page. It's slamming iBuyers because you leave so much equity on the table. But yeah,
You do.
I've never dealt with Zillow as an iBuyer. It's always been OfferPad or Open Door. And like I said earlier, Open Door would really just bend over and take whatever I gave them. OfferPad was always like, no. OfferPad wouldn't come off their price. They would barely give you any concessions when it came to repairs in lieu of, because you're buying a house, completely as is. Like the one I'm in was an OfferPad house, and I got them off their price by $5,000. They wouldn't do anything when it came to the inspection stuff, like nothing. They're like, no,
Yep.
it's
Victoria,
crazy.
That's
so
generally how it works.
I know that obviously some of these iBuyers now have a lot of these listings out, right? Because
Mhm.
they need to let them go. So if
Mhm.
you are working with let's say any of us are working with a buyer and we find this house and it's the one, and it's held open by Open Door or OfferPad. What are some of the strategies, or what are some of the things that you would implement in your offer, knowing what you know, being on the inside and
Mm.
getting those
Basically, Mark wants a mathematical inside scoop.
like what tell your
Yeah,
buyer, like
yeah,
to win
yeah,
that
yeah.
offer and to get them the best deal, like knowing what you know.
Yeah.
Depending on the company that we're making the offer to, just like Chris pointed out, Open Door at this point, yeah, they're pretty much taking what they need to get out of the deal. And a fun fact, you're going to see Open Door still trickling those properties out
And
because
it's crazy.
yeah, like
I don't,
the amount of inventory when I stepped away was a little alarming. I mean,
yeah.
knowing what I know and knowing what I helped buy over the last few years, and especially in I was with that brokerage all through 2020. And that's when the broker was actually going out and selling these iBuyer platforms for any agent. You paid $1,500 for the program, and then you were able to. And the strategy was going to these listing appointments was, hey, before I even get to you, you're going to sign this paper that's going to give me permission to send out to institutional buyers only,
Hmm.
not MLS, maybe
Right.
some mom and pop investors too that are here in the Valley. For this flat fee or whatever it is that you want to charge them. And you were able to upload their address onto this platform, and you got up to 8 offers within 24 to 48 hours.
Wow. Sight unseen.
Really, and it sounds so cool and so easy. But then you're going to these people beginning, towards 2021, where these over offers were starting to come on, and then you're only offering them.
Investors, they don't care what they really make on the back end, but when they buy it, they want 70 cents on a dollar because then that gives them room to fix it up and all that kind of jazz. So that's obviously true still with what you're doing. With your thing you filled out for us, you talked about how you're more focused on buyers. I was focused on buyers probably 90% of my career. This is my 26th year. Up until COVID, I was always a buyer's agent, and I was always a first time buyer's agent because I love that niche and I love the fact that nobody wanted to work with them, right? Because the price points weren't as stellar as the move up buyers. So when COVID hit, that went away. So I had to kind of flip everything, especially working with Nick. It's like you got a list to last. So the last couple of years, I've switched to listing side, which is absolutely boring as hell. I love buyers so much more because
So
it's so
do
much more
I.
fun and get right. So talk about that a little bit because you obviously went from a wholesale buyer standpoint, because that's kind of how I look at what you did. You were just a wholesale buyer, right? So you didn't really engage a lot with buyers. You were more just focused on buying the properties for the iBuyers themselves. Was that kind of what turned you off to the whole listing side of life? And like, hey, I want to get back and engage with buyers and get that rush when we're out buying our houses and things like that, or what? Kind of explain how you decided just to be a buyer's agent. Because again, I've done both in my career, and I don't like the listing side because it's just boring to me.
It's boring. They're so entitled. Like I've sold 2 this past year, and my
Okay.
last one like that was pulling teeth. We got them a full price offer, 30-day close, but when it
Yes.
came to their inspection and things came up that we even talked about when I went over and gave them my listing presentation, when I'm, asking them, what have you done? What have you not done? Sewer line, they only partially did. Of course, that came up in inspection and they were just, the outrage. I'm like, you guys are outraged, but I'm supposed to take you shopping as soon as we button this up. And you
Right.
guys, I'm going to do this for you. I learned as a buyer, for me, what's interesting, intriguing, and what gets me going is I love the negotiation parts of it. And
Yeah.
as a buyer's agent, I feel there's so much more to negotiate than a seller's agent.
Yeah.
Knowing what I know. Also, when I was a buyer, especially the mom and pops, in 2013, I was buying a bunch of short sales that were on market. So I
Oh.
learned to do those short sale packages like, hey, this house is in this condition. This is what it's going to take to get it to this condition for top value. This is why you think we should take it. So when I'm representing a buyer, I still have that mentality. I will still walk into a house that's overinflated in price and I let them tell me everything they love about it,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
when we think we want to go in the offer, I'm taking my notes of everything that's wrong with the house because that's what my eye is trained for. That's what I enjoy doing. So
That's
when they're me, yeah, like, hey, I think it's worth full price, and I'm like, slow your roll.
now when you make when you make those offers and
Mhm.
you know it's not in your head, it's not going to be a full list price. Are you asking for concessions on top of that, undercutting the list price?
Depends.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just
depends on what my buyer needs.
okay.
If they,
And
yeah, if
now
they need help, yeah,
okay. Have you gotten any kickback from? Because anything I
yes,
do with buyers, I always ask for concessions, even if they don't need it. Because to me, I tell them if I don't ask for it,
yeah,
if I don't get it, at least I tried, right? Like I'll ask for the world, and the worst they're going to say is no,
yes,
right? Typically, I'll go pretty close to list price if I want concessions, depending on the condition of the house, et cetera. Because to me, like as a listing side, when I get an offer, and I'm at say 500,000, somebody comes in at 475 and wants 20,000 in concessions. I'm like, really? You're coming in 40,000 below my list price mathematically? And so I push back because again, listing side is a different approach.
yes,
So with you doing what you're doing, do you get a lot of kickback from the listing agents when you
yeah,
undercut and
yes.
ask? Okay.
It's true.
How are they countering you? Just out of
They're not
curiosity.
paying my commission. They are making my buyer pay the commission. Oh yes, this has been happening.
Well,
Yeah.
So,
I think that's, you know, unfortunately the way things have been written now, I think
Mhm.
that is the easiest as a listing agent, right? That is the easiest way to get some money back for your
seller.
for your seller, right? Because
Mhm.
if you attack the commission, right, it has nothing to do with the contract per se, right? It has to do with the relationship with the buyer and the
Right.
buyer's agent, right? And so it kind of separates everything, right? And so unfortunately, yeah, I'm seeing that a lot as well, right?
Mhm.
Like that's the easiest, the least of the path of
Least
least
path resistant.
and but yeah, I mean, is so when they counter you on your commission, what's your strategy? What do
Yeah.
you
What's
think?
that
Like
conversation like?
what's
Well,
yeah.
first off, when I'm preparing my buyers for such an offer, right?
Right.
Like I'm being very transparent. This is what we're doing, and this is the way they're going to look at it. I'm having the conversation that there's a very big chance that they are going to counter you either on price and or my commission and or your concessions. So it's that rule of three. Which of the two of the three that you want, right?
Yeah.
So if you want those concessions, one of the other is going to happen. They're going to mess with the price or they're going to mess with my commission. And you can play the scenario all three ways. I prepare them for that. That is an
Cool.
honest conversation that we're having before we even go see homes.
Cool. I haven't had anybody come after my commission request with the way I write my offers. So that was surprising to me that you've had that happen. Because
Yeah. And
I prep them too, but I'm that guy because again, if you ask for 2.5, they want to give you 3, you can't go up. So everything I write, I go in at 3%. And some of them come back at 2.5 and I counter back at 3. And I get it most of the time. So then on the flip side with my listings, I had an agent recently who he asked for 3, my clients were 2.5, but I prep my clients like if he's smart, if he feels his value, he's going to counter that back at 3. He didn't. So when he saw the settlement statement, he was like pissed off and he lit me up text messages. I'm like, I can't tell you what my clients are going to pay you, man. That's not my job. If you thought you're worth 3%, you should have countered back because the worst thing my clients would have said was no. you're 2.5, but at least you tried, but you didn't. So is that my fault or is it your fault for not fighting for your value? Then he shut up because he realized it's up to us as the buyer's agent to dictate what we're worth, not the
Yes.
seller. The seller goes off the recommendation from their agent in the transparency terms and conditions of the offer. If somebody brings me a full price offer, no concessions, wants 3%, I tell my seller that's a great solid offer. They're not asking for a concession, so it's up to you. And if I get those offers, my seller's always, oh, I'll pay them 3% for that all day long, because you educate them, right? They could have asked for concessions, they could have done this and that. So that surprised me that. So when you have that conversation after the fact, the seller comes back and says, okay, I'll give you the price, I'll give you the concession, but I'm not paying your commission. Are the buyers taking that positively?
They did. They were
Yeah,
totally fine. Yes, because they
that's
got the
crazy.
they wanted and they got the concessions that they wanted. It was a very unique situation, this
Yeah,
particular one, where it was their dad funding. So they, I got to sit down with mom and dad. I sat down with
cool,
them. Yeah. So they had no problem paying my
cool.
commissions.
That's cool. Because I would think concessions or commission, you know what I mean? Because you still, I don't know what the terms and conditions of it, but I would think, well, okay, I don't want the concessions if I got to pay you, right? That's how I think a buyer of mine would approach it. Well, why should I pay you if I can just get them to take off the concessions? But I get that's interesting. That's interesting for sure.
Victoria, so I have since you're buyer heavy, and I think of like, okay, if I had 5 listings, right, that's one thing. If I have 5 buyers, that's another thing. And I
Mhm.
think I feel like for having 5 different buyers at the same time, right? I'm thinking like, oh my gosh,
Love
that's a
that.
lot of showing. That's a lot.
I love that.
I'm driving everywhere. Like, like this person wants to see, 5 houses on Saturday. This person wants to
Mhm.
see 4 houses on Saturday, and that's the only day. How do you manage that?
Right. Thank you, Victoria. I
Do you
love that chaos,
use
dude.
showing
Yeah,
agents? How
yeah.
do you,
Mm-mm,
I mean,
mm-mm.
because, if I have 5 listings, it's pretty easy to manage, right? But if I have 5 buyers that all want to see houses that are all very active, how do you manage something like that?
Well, now
Yeah.
it's easy because we're not scrambling.
Right.
Get an offer in by the end of
Right.
days.
Mhm.
Yeah, 2021, 2022, hectic as it was still fun.
Yeah.
I do enjoy this pace a lot more. This reminds me of, 2016, 2017, where you could take somebody to 5 places, give them 2 or 3 days to think about it.
Yep.
And in those 2 or 3 days, then you go show other people
Yep.
places.
Yep.
And I always put a limit on how many houses I show one individual. I've had to break that rule twice ever, and that was in the chaos of 2022. But I don't show more than 4 or 5 houses to a single person in one day. It's too crazy for them. They're not used to it. That
Mhm.
to me, that hinders their ability to make a solid decision when you go past that amount. Well, I'm always able to break up my days. And I have not yet run into a Saturday or Sunday that I've had 4 or 5 people go, no, we need this time block that you have, and we don't have anything else. I'm always able to plug people in where they need to be plugged in.
So when I was buyer heavy, there were several Mondays where I'd come in and I'd have 7 escrows open, Marco. So it's a matter of, like Victoria said, you tell the clients on Friday, because I legit had exactly which is what I love, because then you're nonstop busy. So it's like Friday from 10 to 2, I'm working with client A. From take a break, get some food. From 3 to 6, I'm working with client B. Client D Saturday from 10 to 2. Client C, the next one is 3 to 7, whatever. And then the same thing Sunday, you break it up. And with technology and stuff, it's you go home that night, you tell the client A, hey, I got 5 more showings when we're done today. When I get back to my office, I'll do this, I'll run the comps, all that kind of jazz. Then you kind of stacking the offers up together.
So,
Yep.
so let
If
me
you
ask you
if,
guys, let me
yeah.
interrupt this on both of you guys. Have
Mhm.
you guys ever used a showing agent?
Oh,
Is there a reason why you wouldn't use a showing agent?
my answer is because I feel nobody can do what I do when I'm working with the buyer and help control
Okay.
the situation and answer the questions with the experience and expertise. I'm sure Victoria's going to kind of be in the same wheelhouse response. What do you say, Victoria?
I'm sorry, I had 3 different things just going on. Again.
Showing
Marco,
agent, showing agent.
yeah,
There you
yeah.
go, right there.
Oh,
Mark,
showing
yeah,
agent.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I had to use a showing agent just this past summer, and that had to do with a position that I took up that led me to Durango, Colorado. So I was out of town
Yeah.
for 7 months essentially, and my son was
Wow.
looking for a house. Yeah, and I had to call up a few
Yeah.
friends a
How did
couple
it
times.
go? What's your experience? Would you do it again?
No, I would not do it again. In
Yeah.
fact, I
See,
ended up
see.
leaving that Durango position to come back here. You can't sell
Mm.
Phoenix real estate when you're not in Phoenix.
Well,
Even
and you
simple.
can't, and again, no, there. So the buyer and you have established a relationship. You have a rapport. They're
Yes.
trusting you for the single largest expensive purchase in their lifetime. So I've always felt pawning them off. Hey, Marco's not offense, Marco. I'm just giving you an example. Hey, Marco's going to be the one that shows you the house. This house is Saturday because I'm showing Stacy houses at the same time, and Stacy's
Yeah,
prettier than Mark than you are. Blah blah blah. Whatever the case may be. But it loses your value. That's the
it
same
does.
concept when you have somebody call a team, right? Because I've gotten people over the years that they'll call on a listing and it's a team, and then they go meet the first person on the team, and all of a sudden the next person that they're
Yeah.
talking to is somebody's going to show them a house. It's not the same person they talked to, so all of a sudden they're just getting passed down, which is then they're like, I'm done. They walk away, and then they Google,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's kind of like being a control freak in a
Yes.
sense. Yes, yeah, but it's true though, right? Because once you get that rapport and once you have that relationship, I've always said connections before commissions. So the more you know the
Yes.
person, the more you understand how to read their facial expressions and their body language. You're looking at houses. They've all been looking at houses for 2, 3 years on Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com, all that kind of jazz. So now you're just kind of helping them understand, hey, look, I know you've only seen 5 houses, but you've actually seen probably 4,000 houses.
Yes.
We're just now walking through them physically. So if this one checks all your boxes, don't be afraid to say, hey, Chris, let's make an offer.
Yeah. Yeah. Victoria, in your little snippet that you sent us, you mentioned this a few times. Stop and listen.
Right.
Stop and listen some
Mhm.
more.
Yep.
Okay.
That's it's an
Tell me.
exercise I have to hone in on. See, I just did it right there. I don't mean to. I have ADHD, and it's just something that we do. Something comes up in our head, we've got to say it. I've learned to pinch myself. Sometimes you'll see me wear a rubber band and I'll snap it. And it's just for me to, it's a cognitive behavioral thing. It's to stop yourself and listen. And I know when I need to, and sometimes I just can't stop it. So I've got these little quirks and cues that help me reel it back in. And yes, you do need to stop. We do sales. It's not, we're not buying it, they're buying it. If we're not listening to them, we're not showing that A, we care, B, that we're listening to them. You know, you can always hear somebody, but are you listening to them? That's
Right.
putting your phone down. That's direct eye contact. That's making sure
Active
you're
listening.
getting every word out before you have to say what you have to say. And I do my best to keep my opinions on things out of it because this
And
is
the, and
my
yeah,
transaction.
and the more you listen to a buyer and the more you just shut up and listen to them, tell you their life story, because they all do, the more ingrained they are in working with you, the
Oh,
more
very much.
comfortable they are with working with you because they know they've just spewed
Yep.
their entire life up to that point in existence. And this is why they're buying this house. And this is what they need to do because grandma and mom and dad and all these different things are in the background. So it's absolutely key, I think, in working with buyers. Just shut up and listen. Even though they may take on a 20-minute tangent that you could care less about, it's still giving them value because you're paying attention. And then when you throw the conversation, some of the things back in their face, it
Mhm.
shows you're listening, or not
Mhm.
throwing it back in their face, but it shows you're listening, and it gives you even more value because, oh, this guy's listening to me. He understands what I'm looking for. And then when you send them houses based on what they say and what they want, then they're falling off their chair because most agents will just blanket search, here you go, without going through and selecting specific houses the first time. So then you win them over even more. So
Oh,
buyers
yeah.
are actually a lot easier than sellers, which
I
Victoria
think
and
so.
I
Yeah. No, totally.
absolutely.
They
Mhm.
really are. I will work with a buyer hands down over a seller. If don't get me wrong, I'm going to
Yeah.
take a sale. But no, my preference, I love the buy side. In fact, I take selling appointments and to sell a house so I can be their buyer's agent on the backside.
Oh,
That's
nice.
my end goal. Truly it is.
That's cool. That's good.
It-
Yeah.
I mean, do you find it? I know. Do you find it easier to work with buyers, or do you
Yes,
find?
and I don't know why. I really
Yeah.
don't. Everybody that I've sold a house for, I've known them. It's not just some Joe Schmo calling me a buyer. I've picked up a few buyers off Instagram, people I didn't know,
Yeah.
but a
Yeah.
seller, no,
Yeah.
no,
Which brings me to the point. One of the things that you said, things to avoid is, I thought was interesting. You said don't edit your social media.
don't. Just put it up there. Just
Okay.
put it, whatever it is, whatever thing that you have to say, whether it's a personal, political, your business, whatever it is, put it up there. That's who you
Don't
are.
but
You
don't go
want the
political.
people that agree with you. You want the people that, the ones that are easy to work with. And I don't want to say easy to work with. This is my deal. I will not take on a client if I cannot sit down and have a beer with them. Like that's the kind of conversation I want. That's the kind of relationship I want. I don't want transactional. I don't want somebody that I know damn well I'm not going to get a hold of after we're done with our sale.
Yeah.
I
I
want
like that.
connection.
I agree with that 100%.
What are you finding? You working with buyers right now?
Mhm.
Because I think right now buyers are gold, right? Buyers,
Yes. They
you get a
always are.
buyer.
They all
Yeah,
go. Yeah.
you find a buyer, you hold on to that person, right? And you know they're gonna get a deal.
Yeah. No, if it weren't for a
And then-
buyer, you're not selling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Thank
Right.
you. Thank you.
So-
Can't have buyers. And that's the answer you give people when they ask about the market. Well, you can't have a market without a buyer. You can't have a market without a seller. Well, what's the market like? That's what the market's like. You need buyers to buy and sellers to sell. And guess what? Without either one of those, the market's not doing anything. So it's a great market. And then they don't know what to say to that, but it's the most accurate statement without getting into the bullshit that people wrap their heads around. Oh, inventory and interest rates. No, stop the noise. Market wants to sell his house. Mortgage wants to buy her house. That's it. That's the market.
working with buyers. I mean, what are you? Can you gauge? Can you give us a little bit of gauge of the temperature of the buyer, the typical buyer right now? What are they thinking? What are their hesitations? Right. Tell us a little bit about what you've seen working with buyers. Where are their heads at?
I tend to work with not luxury buyers, typical middle class and maybe even the smaller than middle class, the single person that's
High
just
five.
pitching
High
their way
five.
trying
High
to.
five.
That's right. High
Thank
five,
you.
Matt.
Thank you.
Somebody's got to represent them.
Uh-huh.
I'm seeing a lot of fear. Nobody knows what's going on. Geopolitically, interest rates are up and down. That's my biggest, I think, is people that I work with are payment driven.
Mhm.
So I tend to put more of the interest rate talk in front of them because that's what drives a payment, right?
When they ask about the rates, like Chris, I get it all the time. Well, I'm waiting for 3%. Okay, it's not going to happen. Go to
Yeah,
Google
no.
machine and type in the average interest rate since 2000. You're going to see it's 6.5, 7%. So I do that to help them get off that, right? Is that the kind of same thing you're doing, or if not, what are you doing to help them back off on that?
Yes. I asked them, okay, you want that 3% interest rate? That's great. You sit around and wait for it. But when it comes, are you willing and do you have the cash that's going to take to get into the house because now the price is jacked up, just like it did in 2021 and 2022.
Love that.
Do you
Love
have
that.
the $45,000 appraisal gap?
I love that.
Competition.
Do you have
That's
it?
a great answer.
No,
That's a great answer.
this conversation is non-void. You aren't ready to buy then.
That's a great answer.
That is
Everybody,
an absolute.
everybody, there's a great answer, everybody. Great
Yeah.
answer.
Because
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't understand. Like if tomorrow the interest rates were 3%, right? Not only are the prices going to go back up, but everybody that's been on the fence
Yep.
is
The
jumping
last
in.
3 years now,
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
on 3 years
They're-
of people
Yeah.
going, oh,
They're
no,
jumping
this
in
is too much.
and we're going to get craziness again. So I think that's a well thought out response
Yeah. I think it's a great
because
response.
like, do you have the cash to compete?
Yeah.
It's, when if it goes to 3%, do you have that cash to compete? Because that is what is going to win the offer.
That is
Right?
the only thing that's going to win the offer.
Wow.
That's a great answer. I can't believe I haven't thought of that, Victoria. That's awesome. We could just stop right now.
What I
That's a
saw,
nugget, man.
no?
See ya.
I actually have a transaction in 2022 that haunts me to
Really?
this day because I told him not to do the praise. What was it? The escalation
gap?
clause. We wrote it in
Oh,
clause. We kept it minimum. It was
Yeah.
only 2,500 over, but
Yeah.
it kept going and kept going and kept going. I was like, you
Mm.
are now getting into territory that you may not get the appraisal that you want for the financing that you're trying to get right now. Okay, so that was no, he wanted it was on the golf course. It checked all the boxes. Okay, dude,
Mm.
get it.
Yeah.
Appraisal came in $45,000 under appraised value. We tried to do, and I explained to him like this was February, March of 2022. So we're still on that weird cusp, and we're still climb higher from that point. But they were still looking at data 2021, January 2021, where that didn't support where he was going. Did he make it up within the year? Yeah, he made it up within the year because it's 2022. But in that moment, I'm just like, I told you. So when we went back and we had it reevaluated, they came up another 2,000.
Oh,
So
no.
he had to
Wow.
come out of pocket 43 grand.
Wow.
He was, I have
He was
never
pissed.
do by
Oh, yeah.
a client like that the way that I was. He thought he was going to turn in all of the extra comps to reevaluate when it was me and his lender.
Mhm.
So when he got wind that me and the lender had done that ahead of him, I was
Pissed.
the worst agent that he had ever worked with. How dare I go? And I'm just like, you've bought houses before, so you know how this works.
Mm.
This isn't your job to do. This is what you're paying us to do, you know? And it ended up taking the lender calling him and calming him down. Like, I asked her to pull the comps that she gave me. This wasn't her going above you and over you. This was
Wow.
her and I working together because you hired us as a team. But that one
Right.
still haunts me to this day. Like,
Wow.
yeah.
So
And
you
he took
don't go have
photographs.
beers with him once a week then, right?
Yeah.
Hey man, you want
No,
to go
he
have
actually
beer?
told that lender that he would never be able to speak to me again because he felt stupid and horrible with the way he spoke to me.
Wow.
Well, at least he recognized it, right?
Yes, I did. The moment we put that offer in and the escalation clause and where it was
Yeah.
going, I'm just like, I think we're kind of headed to some territory that you're not gonna like. I
I had
cannot promise you your full financing at this point.
Mhm.
yeah, I had one client do that, and I did the same thing. I'm like, I don't, don't overdo it, and they did. They overshot the listing by 20 grand. The appraisal came in still what? It came in less. It came in less than their appraisal, like 25 grand or something. And then luckily the seller and the listing agent were kind of reasonable, so they split the difference. My buyer came up half, and their seller agreed to drop, to the appraised value as long as they brought a 12,700 or something to the table. But even then, I don't. I told them like, don't do it, don't do it. Like there's other houses, but they did, you know,
Yeah, he's
fucked
Victoria,
me
still
for a
living it.
while.
Victoria,
That's good.
when you're working with with buyers, and I've run into this a few times where you have, a couple that's buying a home and you have, I'll just take this in because I'm working with them right now. The s- the wife is really into just the home, the aesthetics of it, the
Mhm.
area, all those things. And the husband is very into the numbers, right? And sometimes those clash, right?
Mhm.
Well, she wants something really nice. And he's like, no, that's way too much. I'd rather take this one that's a little bit beat up, because it's going to be better financially, our monthly payment. How do you deal with that? I mean, because they're banging heads constantly, right? Where, how do you let them kind of hash it out themselves?
Yeah.
Do you get in the middle, or how do you approach that
I
situation?
I do my best not to interfere too much with marital things. What was it, 2014? I took a
Mhm.
married couple out where she wanted new, he wanted something that they could fix up to make their own. And I took them to a home that was probate sale, 1970, no, 1968 build, Old Tempe. I could just see it, the dream. And again, my background, I'm trained to go and look and see great things in ugly things. And she is just bitching and complaining and bitching and complaining. And then I'm in the back room, they're in the living room, and I can hear their voices start to escalate. By the time I made it to that living room, they were full on screaming at each other.
I've
So
never had that happen.
I let them, I exited the house. They came out about 10 minutes later. They apologized. I unfortunately drove them. This is also why
Oh,
Awkward.
fun.
the silence in the car was awful. I
Yeah.
didn't know what to say. Truly, I didn't. I had never had anything like this happen before. At this point in my career, I was dealing with my clients over the phone. I'd never taken clients out really.
Yeah.
It was probably, I think, my second time I had done it ever. I lost them as clients because I couldn't take the angst between the two of them. They ended up renting for 2 years, like because they
Yeah.
couldn't
Oh,
agree
wow.
on anything. I honestly don't know how to answer that because that's the only time that I've really come to that type of headbutting. I'm able to do that in a consultation, and they'll you can hear it right away. It's just like we said, let them talk. They're going to tell you everything that you need to know.
Yeah.
You-
The other thing too,
Get-go.
Marco, I'm gonna chime in on that answer, Mark, because I agree with Mark and Megan in the chat. The wife wins. My wife
Yes,
has bought
Yeah.
every single house that we've.
happy wife,
Yeah,
happy life.
yeah.
That's what it comes
Nikki,
down
Nikki,
to. Yep.
Nikki has bought every single house we lived in except two. That's it. The only reason why she didn't buy the second one is I kept driving by it, and then I made an offer and then told her, hey, we're moving.
It's a hard
Yeah.
conversation, right? Because you, as a agent, you see both sides, right? You see
Mhm.
both sides of the thinking, right?
Yes.
in this situation, right? The wife, be like, hey, look, yeah, it's turnkey. You're ready to rock. Just enjoy it, right? Enjoy. What's another $60 on your mortgage, right?
Right.
Yes.
Just don't go out, right? But then on the other side, you see the husband's like, yeah, there's some sweat equity here, right? You can, if you reduce some of these things, you're able to do it. I can see, you guys can do it the way you want to do it, and it probably won't take as much money, but you're building some equity, right? So it's one of those things that you really have to finesse it, right? You really have to finesse it if you decide to get involved, right? If you
Yes.
decide to get
Yes.
involved.
What I like
You
to
have
do
to,
too is when you hear the differences in what they're talking about, it's a real simple, you guys need to find your compromise because I'm hearing
there you
two
go.
different wants on two different spectrums. And obviously we're not here to buy two different homes. Let's find the middleman. You guys are married, however long you've been married, you guys know what compromise is. You're going to have to find it here. Otherwise, I
Here's
can help. I can show you the best of the best, and I can show you the slum of the slum. It's that middleman that we need to come together and find that happy middle.
this is hitting the nail on the head. Sherry Rampy, I think sometimes the wives know that the projects will never get done.
It's true.
It is
Yeah.
true because I listed a house, right? And I showed those people houses yesterday. So while I was there driving around, we talked about the listing and et cetera. And I told him he's a hunter. So I said, you got to take all the trophies down, man. I'm like, some people that's going to walk in the house and be like, I'm out just because there's
Right.
15 dead deer and elk and mountain lions and all that kind of crap. His response back to me is, you know what? Thank you for telling me that because we lived here, 30 some odd years and there's stuff that I never got done that now I had to get done in order to make the house look more appealing when I sold it. And I kind of looked back at April and she had this quirky smile on her face, the wife, because of what Sherry said. It's true. You start something and then
Yeah.
I got stuff around my house that I've started and haven't finished, but that's true. You can say all you want until the end of the time. Oh, honey, I'm going to do all these things. And yeah, life happens. You get busy. You have
Yeah.
kids. You know what I mean? It's not going to think. So Mark Voss says, husband, I told you to get it done. No, no reason to remind me every 6 months.
And see again, they've got to find their own compromise. I'm there to find the solution between the two. I'm not there to make the decision for them.
Agreed.
Victoria, where are you finding what are some of your lead sources as to getting buyers, and where are you finding your buyers? Is it
Friends and
mostly
family.
friends and family?
Yeah, referral mostly. I've
Okay.
done the call centers. I've done the farming. I've done the door to door. I would never do door to door this
Yeah.
day and age.
Not now.
No, even cold calling, not anymore.
Oh
People are
yeah. So that's a good question because when I'm fantastic on the phone, I'm not saying that to be a jerk, but if I get you on the phone, you're living and breathing, you got a pulse, I'm turning you into a buyer. I mean, right then and there. By the time our conversation is done, I know your entire history about what your employment, your income, your debts. I'm sending you to buyer broker. We're rocking and rolling, right? But you can't get people on the phone. Save your
no.
life. So if it's strictly just friends and referral type business, now I've done that. I had my entire eggs in that basket and the market crashed. So do you have any safeguards to that? Because friends and family are great, but if the market goes south, which it's not going to, but let's pretend it does, the referrals kind of dry up because anybody they know is not buying a house. So what do you have as far as safeguard in place should something happen and twist it to where all of a sudden now it's more sellers and buyers and the ability to get those referrals kind of starts drying up?
I've always had a second job.
Okay.
I'm a single mom of 3. I
Yeah.
raised them on my own. I don't know how not to work.
That's
When I
cool.
find myself not having something to actually go and do,
Yeah.
my brain just kind of starts to loop and do things, what
Yeah.
is it?
So
Idle
yeah.
hands are the devil's playground. So
Yeah.
I keep myself busy.
Yeah.
Right now I've got a part-time job at a bank. I absolutely love it. It's keeping me very, very regimented, especially my mornings. I took the morning off so I could do this with you guys.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Yeah, no, they're super flexible. They know that this is a part-time job. They know that this is not a career that I'm looking to
Yeah.
flourish. But if I need to pivot, I can.
Cool.
Wow,
Sherry
that's
wants to Sherry wants to know if Instagram really works as far as lead gen.
It has this last year. I picked up 2 clients this year off Instagram.
So now I'm gonna take that one step further. What was it that made them reach out to you? Was it specific content? Was it real estate related content? Just you being you?
Me just being me and them
Okay.
knowing this is what I do.
Okay, cool.
wow.
Now you
And-
posting on Instagram every day?
Pretty much, yeah. If
Okay.
it's not something of my face, and my stories are always going. There's always I guarantee you there's 3 to 4 slides that are real estate specific. whether I'm talking about interest rates or inventory ideas, tips and tricks on your home, that kind of.
I'm at like 498 consecutive days, I think, on Instagram. I
Wow.
haven't got any business stuff, which is bullshit. I don't think I'm pretty enough.
Shine the head up a little bit, moisturize. I understand it has to do with the glow.
I do moisturize, man. Every time I shave my head.
No, I don't. I do not have any tips, secrets of what made somebody reach out to me.
Yeah.
That did. I'm grateful that they did.
Yeah.
I've done classes. I've paid money. I've had somebody help me scrub my Instagram to where it
Yep.
was just people that they felt
Or not, yeah,
they
not
knew the
realtors.
algorithm was looking
Mhm.
for homes and whatnot. All of it was
Yeah.
a waste of money.
Yeah, I did that on Facebook years ago. I went and scrubbed everything from, I was 5,000 the max, and then once I scrubbed it, it was down to like 1,800. But the nice thing is, as it's gradually built back up, I purposely don't, aside from some broker sub elite, I don't, if you're not in broker sub, I won't take you on as a friend from whether it's real estate, title, or lending, because it screws up the algorithms. And you don't
Yes,
want your
love that.
competitions, you don't want your competition seeing what you're doing,
Right.
because your competition, period. So you got to kind of be mindful of that. So when I first went to broker sub, people were like, "Hey, you're an asshole for not accepting my friend request." Understand why? It's an algorithm thing. And then once
Yeah.
I got to know everybody, it's like, okay, I'll let these people into my life more because they're cool.
Yeah, no, but
Yeah.
no, it's a business thing, right? You're
It
trying to
is.
run a
Yeah.
business, not a personal situation
Right.
where it started personal, but
Right.
I'm slowly folding in the business to it. Like if you
Yeah.
go through my Instagram, I've been on Instagram a really long time. You don't really start to see a lot of the heavy until 2021 when I
Mm.
joined Brokers Hub.
Okay.
Because it's not that I didn't advertise the iBuyer stuff. And when I
Yeah.
had listings from the mom and pops that I was helping
Yeah.
buy, then I
Yeah.
would turn around and sell for them. I would put up, hey, I'm having an open house and stuff, but it was not nearly the marketing that I do right now.
That's cool. So we got about 15 minutes left before you ask that question, Marco. If anybody's got any questions, throw them in the chat room and we'll get those answered from Victoria. Go ahead,
Victoria,
Marco.
if someone were to say, "Hey, Victoria, I'm thinking about a new agent. I'm thinking about, working for an iBuyer, or I'm thinking about paying for Zillow leads or whatever, things like that." What advice would you give them? What would you
Don't
say
pay
to
for
that?
Zillow leads.
Okay.
Anywhere, anyone, anything else, do not pay for Zillow leads. I am so anti Zillow. And I know Sherry's on here and she knows that I'm so anti Zillow.
Well, and Nick's the same way. Nick did it for
Yeah.
years, and you can't qualify him. So it's 100% a cold call risk. I'm going to show up at this house and nobody's going to be there.
Yep.
Why would you do that? Why would you
Yeah.
spend the money doing that? It's same with the homes.com crap. Like, why would you pay them $5,000 a month in hopes they're going to feed you a lead? I run ads every now and then, right? Like when I have my listings, I ran an ad for my $1 million horse property just to see how I get. Had about 70 leads generated. I kid you not, probably 67 of them either, "Oh, I didn't mean to click that. Well, I didn't fill that out. I don't know what you're talking about. You just need to stop. Stop. You asked me for information."
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Yes, you did, because it's there. So yeah, don't. I did it more so to appease the seller. Hey, look, I'm doing something above and beyond,
Right.
on top of my other stuff. But it's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. And then Sherry's like, yeah, right there with you again with the Zillow hate, because it is. I used to, back in the day when Facebook first came out, I would call it fishing. In the morning, I would post 3 or 4 things about real estate, different channel, different groups and whatnot. And by the end of the day, I'd have 15, 20 leads, and they were really good, solid leads.
Mm-hmm.
Because back then, Facebook wasn't this massive marketing thing it is now. It was person to person like this. So it was actually kind of a referral database, which was neat. That doesn't exist anymore, which sucks. Now you get ads for porn when you're looking at your grandson's school and trying to find his picture on a program he did last Friday. But at the bottom was, "Or your mother wants to have sex with you," and she had her shirt pulled up so you could see her boobies.
Geez.
I was like, really? Facebook allows that?
Wow.
It's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Anyway, soapbox.
And I've been looking into smaller lead generation companies, just kind of testing the waters. In the fall, I spent, I think, like $350. I was guaranteed 4 leads. I got
Good
one.
work. Okay. Okay. But that,
pre-qualified already and ready for an
Yeah.
appointment for me.
so did that
That's-
350, that 350 turn into a commission?
No, not yet.
Okay.
But
Okay.
we are still talking. It's
So
better
so
than
it was
nothing.
a
So
solid
I'm
lead then.
nurturing it. Yes.
Oh,
sooner.
Okay.
okay.
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've not done like a month subscription. I've never done that. I've always done the smaller packages for a certain amount.
Okay. That's
Right.
interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you know how it goes though, but we're
Yeah.
still testing it.
What kind of small company was it? You mind sharing?
I couldn't even, I would have to go through my emails
Okay.
to get you the name of the company. I
Was
happened to answer my phone one day and
yeah, one
yeah,
of those. That's what I
yep,
was going to say because we all get the text, right? Oh,
Yep.
verified leads for $75.
yep.
I would
So
I would
yeah,
respond I would respond back to those in case you guys don't respond to those. I respond back saying if there's zero money out of pocket cost, there's absolutely zero startup fee, and all I'm paying you is a referral at closing. Respond back. They never do.
yeah,
They never do. I'm not going to give you money up front in hopes that you do something you say you're going to do when you're truly not.
yeah.
Right.
That's why I was kept with the smaller amounts, like
Yeah,
less than
yeah,
500. I'll give it a shot. That's
that's
fine.
fine.
If I even I
Yeah,
get one
right,
that's going to pay for itself
absolutely,
Right.
in itself, that's fine.
right.
More
And
than
then
that,
and yeah,
monthly
and the way
subscription.
you are is right. And the way you are as an agent, then you got that client into a house, and you got them in your referral database, and then so on and so forth. The world goes round. We got about 10 minutes left. Any other questions? Chime in. Got any other questions for Marco?
No, I think I would love to. I mean, it's super interesting that I don't think I've ever met anybody who has worked for one of these iBuyers, right?
Yeah, I haven't either.
And so I think it's really interesting to be on that side of the transaction and just to know, like, what goes on, right? Because, for a few years, iBuyers were everywhere, right?
Mhm.
You would like Victoria said, like I would submit, an offer to, open door
And
or
get
offer
and
pad
yeah.
to see what we could get, right? And then now, yeah,
So the
now we're
question,
dealing with
Sherry.
No, it was interesting. The fact of the matter is I didn't get into real estate to help the common person. I got into it for investment reasons. So that's how I got intertwined with that specific brokerage, how I got intertwined with that agent that her and I ended up as a small team and doing mom and pop stuff. And even with that, we had 3 buyers out of Vegas who had their own. So I was never dealing with people that were using hard money. I was never, that's
Oh,
not how it started. I started
okay.
people with their own money, their own capital to get things.
yeah.
Nice.
So I
Yeah.
saw a very, very different side of investment
Mm,
stuff.
That's
Do you enjoy working with investors over common people?
I prefer to.
common people.
You prefer to work with investors, huh?
I do, and I know how this is going to make me sound, but this is just an honest conversation. Dealing with the bottom line is far easier than dealing with emotions. Money and emotions are very, very hard when they collide. My
Agreed.
last sale was a divorced couple.
Listing side?
What's that?
Was it the listing side?
Yes, it was the
Yeah,
listing
yeah.
side.
I
Yeah,
for some
and
reason last year I was huge in divorces. I don't know why, but yeah, it's fun.
I told them both when they were both started to get heated. You guys need to take a step back. Money and emotions don't mix. You either want to be mad about this or you want to make money off of it. Choose which one you want because
Yeah,
Hmm.
I did the same thing. My wording is keep your eye on the prize.
yeah,
Hmm.
You're gonna walk away with 60 grand. So just put your head down and just focus on what's eye on the prize. Eye on the
yeah,
prize. Every time they would get, and I do group texts. And if they start arguing the group text, I just all capitals stop. You're going
yeah,
to argue, go off on your own text. I'm not involved in your arguments. My job is
yeah.
to get you this. So
Hmm.
keep
Facts
your
and
eye on the
figures.
prize.
That's what I'm here for. Facts and
Yep.
figures, not your emotional bullshit. This is the two
Yep.
of you. Go over there.
Yep.
No, that's very true.
Yep.
Yeah. iBuying it took a toll because you started to see what it was doing to the market for the common
Yeah.
buyer.
Yeah.
And it created a havoc here in Phoenix. And that's not something that I can deny. I was definitely part of the problem, not the solution.
Damn it, Victoria.
I know. It didn't feel good. Honestly, truly, it did not feel good.
You made a comment on the thing about talking to walls. I had to pull up the thing. I want to know what you mean by talking to walls.
Avoid talking to walls.
Right.
Your sphere of influence in
Okay.
particular, right?
Okay.
You know that you've got 3 or 4 people off the top of your head. We all do. Next year, next year,
Mm-hmm.
next year. And the truth of the matter is, maybe they just don't want to buy. Maybe
Right.
they want to because society tells them to, their friends tell them to, whatever their reason being.
Yeah.
But they're all, if they haven't made any kind of real significant progress to things, and I say this because I have found myself catering to somebody who's done this to me the last 4 years. I've wined them, I've dined them, I've, very candid conversations to very deep conversations. And
Yeah.
this past like 2 weeks where I'm just, he's my wall. He's just another wall because no matter what I say, no matter the facts and figures that I'm showing him of affordability right now, he's still finding the excuse. He's still finding his reasons, whatever it be. He's a wall. Just learn which are actually going to be people that are going to turn into real clients versus someone that you're just going to sit there and talk to for absolutely no reason.
I love that. And I think that's the perfect spot to end. Stop talking to walls, everybody. This is Elevating Your Voices, Victoria Romero. You've been fantastic. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much for
Victoria.
coming. This will all be on the YouTube channel, and then I'll get it dropped on the Broker's Hub page tomorrow around 10 a.m. as well. Thank you, everybody, for coming in and
Thank
supporting
you.
us. We love it. I'm not going to tell you who's coming on next week because I like to dangle carrots to surprise everybody. We do have in the future, though, I'm going to dangle this little carrot. We have somebody on not necessarily the iBuyer side, but on the wholesale side.
Okay, that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Everybody have a great day. Love you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See you later.
Peace.